What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and to another WNBA video. We have a 6-game slate to dive into for Tuesday, June 17th. So we're going to break down and analyze each of those games. We'll talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points on the spread, and we'll also go over any player props that I found in those games that I like. And then when it's all said and done, make sure you check down there into the pinned comment. You'll find a link over there that's going to send you to the Guy Boston Sports website. It's where all of my final plays for these games are going to live for free. But before we dive into these games, let's go ahead and jump over there to the Guy Boston Sports website. That way we can take a look back at yesterday's plays. We had an okay day, right? As far as units are concerned, we do end up in the green still, despite going 4-6 on the night. And a big reason for that is a lot of these plays that we don't hit on, quarter unit plays, and then we do hit on a half unit plus money play here, and we hit on a full unit play on the Mercury on the money line. So those two plays there really helped our cause, got us in the green for the day. We finished just up 0.14 units, right? Nothing to go crazy about. But when you finish 4-6 and you don't lose money, I think you can you can take some solace in that. So we are sitting at 64-58 on the year. We are up 1.63 units on the season to start. So let's keep building on that momentum here. Smash that like button down there for me if you can, guys. Hit subscribe if you have not already. Now let's dive right into the mix. We got the Connecticut Sun taking on the Indiana Fever in our first matchup of the day. Fever laying 17.5. That one opened up at 15.5. We see some movement there. We also see some movement as far as the total's concerned. Open up at 164.5. Now sitting at 165.5. We have a 7 p.m. tip-off time for this one. We're going to see the Sun on the road here with travel involved and at a 2-day rest disadvantage. Not what they need after that double-digit loss at home to the Sky their last time out. The Sun are now just 2-8 straight up, 3-7 to the number. The Fever are going to be home for their second straight after taking down the Liberty and Caitlin Clark's return to the court. That helped them go to 5-5 on the year straight up, 6-4 against the spread. And man, we knew the return of Clark was going to lift this Fever team, but man, I don't think any of us really truly could have anticipated the return that she had, or even just how valuable that she actually is to this Fever team. And look, man, this team is really, really talented, right? We heard about it and we talked about it all off season, about all that talent that they brought in. But I think the thing that became pretty evident when Clark went down with injury is that this entire offense is centered around her and her skill set. So without her out there, everything kind of came to a grinding halt, man. I mean, man, she really, really trying to make her case for the best player in the league, right? Because honestly, who sits out damn near a whole month? And comes back to drop 32 points, including 7 threes, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. Well, I guess Caitlin Clark, man. I guess that's who does, man. Look, that stretch where she hit those 3 threes from deep, deep, right? It's like from the logo, and she ain't just hitting them, she's splashing them, just nothing but net. Just unreal, man. Unreal. She is special. Just the truth. I don't care what nobody says. There's all this. Oh, there's so much hype. There's so much hype. She's the truth. Y'all need to quit hating. Enjoy. But you look at the rest of the team and the impact that she has, right? That's where it gets incredible, man. 48% shooting from the field for the Fever, 49% from deep, 102 points overall. This is all against the New York Liberty, one of the best defenses in the W. Incredible. Now they were down Jonquel Jones and Leonie Fever, sure, man, but like we know how talented and how deep that New York team is. Look, the Fever only got above 80 points twice in the 5 games without Caitlin Clark out there. They averaged just 76 points per game during that span. They shot just 33% from deep in those games. So, like I said, man, just a huge impact that she has, not only scoring the ball, but just moving the ball. And that's what she does out there. She just comes up big in big moments, man, over and over again. When she splashed those 3 threes in a row from way the hell outside, they were down by 10 points in that, right? And then she just kind of spurred them back into control of that game, and they just kind of ran from there. You look at the Sun, man, they have obviously struggled a ton this season on both ends of the court. They are dead last for offensive, defensive, and net rating. They're shooting the 4th lowest shooting percentage overall from the field in the W, and the 2nd lowest from deep, while scoring the fewest points per game. They are the worst rebounding team in the league. They dish out only 17 assists per game. That is the 2nd fewest across the league, while turning it over just as much almost, man. 16 turnovers per game. The Fever are shooting at the 4th highest percentage overall from the field and the 3rd highest from deep, good for the 4th most points per game. Indiana is sitting at 4th for offensive rating, 2nd for defensive rating, and 4th for net rating. The Sun are leading the league in terms of percentage of points scored from the mid range and off of turnovers, but the Fever are allowing the second fewest made shots from the mid range and at the third lowest shooting percentage while allowing the second fewest points scored off of turnovers. Indiana sitting at fourth for percentage of points scored from the paint, while the Sun are giving up the most made shots from inside the restricted area, and teams are shooting at the second highest percentage from outside the restricted area against them as well in the paint. So I like this spot for the Fever, man. I know 17.5 points is a lot to lay, so I'm not sure that I'll even get there on the side, man. But there's no way that I would back the Sun either in this spot. This is honestly a spot where I can see the Fever winning by 20 plus. But like I said, that is a lot of points. I get it. So I don't know that I'll get there myself even, but this is definitely a Fever side. It's Indiana or nothing, man. Um, you also got to keep in mind this is a revenge spot for Indiana. They did lose to the Sun while Clark was out. They lost by just 2 points at home in Indiana. They had plenty of chances down the stretch to take that one, and they just could not pull it out. So definitely a revenge factor in play here for the Fever as well, and probably for Clark. She wasn't out there, but she was on the sideline. So definitely revenge factor for her in this game also. Looking at that total, man, while I could see some slight regression offensively from Indiana, I still think that we see them get a lot of points up against this Connecticut defense. Connecticut, though, on their end, they have failed to score more than just 67 points even in 3 of their last 4 games. So I kind of worry that they won't do nearly enough for us to look at it over here. But then, looking at the Fever, I worry that they could do too much for us to look at an under. So maybe this is just a spot that we look at the Fever, right? And we just look at their team total over. Maybe a parlay taking an alternate Sun team total under with an alternate Fever team total over, like we did the other day with the Lynx and the Sparks. There's a few different ways that we could look at this one as far as the total is concerned. So make sure you check down there in the pinned comment on this one. All right, next up we have the Atlanta Dream taking on the New York Liberty. We have the Liberty laying 8.5 in this one. Total was opened up at 163.5. It's now sitting at 164.5, so a little bit of movement there. 7 p.m. tip-off time for this one as well. And this is the game of the night here, if you ask me, right? With the 8-3 Dream taking on the 9-1 Liberty. Each of these teams is 3-1 in cup play, along with the Fever that we just talked about up in the East, right? They're all battling it out for that top spot. Atlanta currently owns the tiebreaker and is sitting at first. Now, the Dream are on the road here for the second of 2 straight after beating up on the Mystics in Washington on Sunday. They've won 3 in a row now and 7 of their last 8. They are hot, man, right? And they've gone 8-3, not only straight up, but against the spread as well. The Liberty are going to be home for the first of 2 in a row after taking their first L of the season, that 14-point defeat at the hands of the Fever that we just spoke of. They are 9-1 straight up, like I said, but they are just 6-4 to the number this season. New York is making the 5th most shots from inside the restricted area, and they do so efficiently at the highest shooting percentage, as well as leading the league in shooting percentage in the paint from outside of that restricted area. Atlanta is giving up the 2nd most makes from inside the restricted area and the 4th most from outside the restricted area. Liberty do lead the W in above the break threes made per game. They are converting those at the 2nd highest shooting percentage across the league, but Atlanta is giving up the 2nd fewest above the break threes made per game to the opposition. The Dream themselves, they are hitting the 2nd most above the break threes and the 3rd most shots from inside the restricted area in the paint. New York sitting at 6 for field goals allowed from inside that restricted area, but first as far as shooting percentage is concerned to the opposition in that zone. They are giving up the 4th most above the break threes per game, but they are doing so at the 5th lowest shooting percentage. So look, man, of course the Dream have had a great start to the year. You can't take nothing away from them, right? The outside shooting of Howard and Gray, it's been electric. The inside presence of BG and Bree Jones has been nice, man. Canada looks good from returning from injury. The bench looks good. This is a good team. It's a good team, man. But the Liberty are just simply better, right? Just simple as that. They're just better. In my opinion, there's the Liberty and there's the Lynx, and then that next tier is the Dream, and they're the top. They're the top of that next tier, but they're still underneath that top tier of the Liberty and the Lynx, man. New York has just played very sound, just very beautiful team basketball, man. There's no other way to put it. And they're coming into this one off of a loss, right? A bounce back spot at home with the rest disadvantage and cup play implications involved here as well. And it's all about the Liberty here for me. This is a New York spot, in my opinion, so there's just no way that I can step in front of this team. Even laying 8.5, man, give me the Liberty laying 8.5. This is one that I feel like it's going to be a closer game. I do, through the majority of the contest, but I think the Liberty pull away. I think they pull away and we get the cover here. For the total, Atlanta has 3 straight unders. New York has hit under in 5 of their last 7. As far as pace, we see the Dream. They have slowed everyone down, right? They slow them all down. They make them play to the slowest tempo in the league, while the Liberty rank first as far as pace is concerned. But even so, I think we see a slower defensive game here to start, right? But I think these offenses are just too dynamic. End of the day, for us to look anyway but over here. It's one of them games. Like I said, I really envision it kind of being close throughout the match. We get an exciting first half. And I think we see New York start to pull away in the second half. We get a late cover, and then we get them to get us just up and over this number. So I'm not sure how comfy I would be playing this over, but I'll definitely be more comfy looking towards the over than I would the under. All right, next up, we're going to be looking at the Washington Mystics taking on the Chicago Sky. We have the Mystics as 3.5 point favorites in this one. Total opened up at 159.5. We see that thing dropping down to 156.5. And we haven't seen any movement on as far as the spread is concerned, but I hopped on the Mystics early at minus 150. We see that money line creeping up now, sitting at minus 170. So that is definitely starting to get more and more juiced. Man, let's go ahead and look into it. The Mystics just finished up a 3-game homestand. It saw them just go 1-2, right? Coming into this one here for the first of 2 straight on the road. They are fresh off of a 89-56 beating at the hands of Atlanta. They're 4-7 straight up, 6-5 to the number. In the Sky, they went into Connecticut. They beat the Sun by double digits behind a first in her career triple-double from Angel Reese. That wrapped up a 3-game road trip for Chicago, and they are home here for the first of 2 straight. The Sky are now 4-6 against the spread, 3-7 straight up. Mystics have struggled to open the year on the road. They've gone just 1-4, right, in their first 5 attempts, but the Sky have only beaten the Wings at home so far this season. So, neither of these teams have a distinct advantage as far as home court advantage or, disadvantage, in my opinion. Offensively, we haven't seen a big disparity between these two either, really, as far as production is concerned. The Sky rank at 12th for offensive rating, the Mystics 10th. Defensively, we have the Sky down there at 12th and second to last, as the Mystics are middling at 8th. The Mystics are 8th for both effective field goal and true shooting percentage, while the Sky are sitting at last in that regard. Look, these are two teams that live out of the paint. They look to work inside out, with their style of offense. With Chicago sitting at 6 for points scored in the paint, Washington third. Chicago is also 6 for opponents' points in the paint, but the Mystics defensively, first. Chicago feasts off those offensive rebounds, man, and second chance points. We know that, led by Angel Reese, of course. But the Mystics have done well in this regard defensively as well, man, sitting at third for second chance points allowed and are giving up the fourth fewest offensive rebounds per game also. Teams are shooting only 40% from the field on Washington. That is second in the W, and just 30% from deep. That's good for third. So, yeah, all in all, like I said, I like Washington in a bounce back spot here. I was able to catch them at that minus 150 when those numbers came out, but it's a Washington side for me, man. Chicago's only wins this season have come over Connecticut and Dallas. They're primed for a letdown spot here after a big win on the road. And this first game is back after a road trip. They often lead to a flat spot as well. So, like I said, it's the Mystics here for me, man. They're looking at that total. Chicago has hit under in 4 straight. Washington has hit to the under in 7 of their last 9. They sit at 8th and 9th in terms of pace. Head to head, we've seen these two hit the under in 3 of their last 4, so I'm going to lean under for this one here. Then, as far as a player prop is concerned, guys, you already knew I was coming right back to Kiki Iriafen and Sonia Citron, right? How many parlays have we cashed with these two already to open up the season? I think it's 6. Now, we did not hit on the last one that we put in because Kiki did not get up over those 9.5 points for the first time this season. But the proof is in the pudding, man. Look at that 91% hit rate. 10 of her first 11 games, she has hit up over that mark. This was against the Atlanta Dream, man. We got to cut her a little bit of slack, right? Going up against Bree Jones and Brittany Griner for the second time this season. Now they got some tape to study on you as well. They have the course of the season's worth of tape to study on you as well. They were a little more prepared for her this time, and they have a fantastic defense over there. So, got to give them a little bit of, a little bit of credit there. But we can see, man, she's shooting 51% on the season. Didn't have a good shooting game whatsoever against Atlanta, 22%, right? But 51% on the season. Like I said, hitting out 10 out of 11 times she's gone up underneath that mark. So, I'm going to combine those 10 points here. Kiki Iriafen, 10 plus points, with Sonia Citron, 10 plus points as well. And we can see that she has hit that at a 100% rate this season. She has not come up underneath that mark at any point. Now, if we look over here as well, you got to love this. Chicago sitting at 11th overall for points. Against that guard's position specifically, second to last. It gets worse. So, definitely like that. We scroll on down, look at Sonia shooting 47% from the field, 36% from deep, 85% from the line. man, she is a baller. She is a hooper. Such a beautiful shooting stroke too. So I definitely like this one. Both of these two, like I said, Kiki Iriafen, 10 plus points. Sonia Citron, 10 plus points. If you combine those at FanDuel, I got that for minus 141. Now a little bit juice, a little more juice than what we've cashed a few of these parlays with these two at plus money, right? Gotta love it, man. But yeah, the books are starting to catch up, and rightfully so, man. So gonna get this as much as we can before it's just so juiced that it's not worth it anymore. But minus 141, I'll take it. All right, next up, going to be looking at the Las Vegas Aces taking on the Minnesota Lynx. Now, Minnesota opened up 8.5 point favorites. That is now up to 11. Total sitting at 163.5 for this one. At 8 p.m. tip-off time for this game. Vegas going to come into this one 5-5 straight up. They are just 3-7 against the spread, and they are fresh off of a loss to the Mercury their last time out. Asia Wilson missed the previous two games now after taking a shot to the face in the third quarter of their match with the Sparks last Wednesday. She's been in concussion protocol since and is listed as a game time decision here. Vegas is going to be on the road after 3 straight at home and will be right back at home for 4 more after this one, 7 of 8 at home. They going to take advantage? That is the question, man. The Lynx are home here for the second game of a 3-game homestand. They hold a 1-day rest advantage over the Aces. They are now 10-1 on the year straight up, 5-6 to the number. But keep in mind, man, this Lynx team that covered so well last season, well, man, last season they snuck up on everybody, right? And that's just not the case this year, man. We know who they are. The lines have reflected that as they've been laying many more points in each game this season than they were to open the year last season. So, if you're a little more of a casual bettor here in the WNBA, don't be alarmed by the Lynx covering record this season or lack thereof. It's not a drop off in talent by any means. They basically have ran back the same team, and in my opinion, they're even better offensively. I think they can get to a next level defensively. Still, I've brought that up a few times, but even so, I think they're still sitting in the top 3 for defensive rating, or maybe they're sitting at 4th. So, man, end of the day, like even if Asia makes it back for this one, and I still feel like that's a pretty big if. I'm just not sure it's going to make much of a difference here against Minnesota. I personally, if I'm Becky Hammond, I just keep her out of this game. Let's get one more game of rest, and we'll worry about all that when we get back to Vegas, right? We have the Aces traveling here, like I said, with one more game played since last Wednesday, then the Lynx. They're struggling to find consistency on offense, and now they're facing a Lynx team yeah, they do. They sit at 4th in the W for defensive rating while allowing just 41% shooting from the field, 3rd in the W, just under 30% shooting from deep. That's good for 2nd. And they're also 3rd in the W for points allowed per contest. And the Aces look to the perimeter a ton for their points, right? And they are last in the league for percentage of points scored coming from the 2-point range. But man, there's a lack of ball movement in a major way for Vegas. It's a lot of one-on-one action. They sit 3rd to last in terms of percentage of their 3 points makes coming off of an assist. They're just the middle of the pack 6th in terms of 3-point shooting percentage. You see Minnesota sitting at 4th for points scored off of turnovers and 3rd for transition points. Vegas is just the middle of the pack 7th and 6th in terms of allowing each of those respectively. The biggest difference in these offenses is the efficiency with the ball, though, man, and the ball movement we see from each. The Lynx lead the league in percentage of both 2-point and 3-point shots made off of assists. They are 1st in the W for assists per game while giving up the 3rd fewest turnovers, while the Aces are coughing it up at the 4th highest rate, but dishing out the fewest assists per outing. I just can't see a way to Vegas here, man. I'm leading the Lynx, laying those points. Wish I would have caught it at 8.5, man. But like I said, there's still no way that I could look to Vegas, right? For that total, 3 of the Aces' last 4 has hit to the under. 3 of the Lynx' last 5 have done the same. The Aces are sitting at 4th for pace, but the Lynx are going to try to slow this thing down, man. They play to the 2nd slowest tempo. Be looking towards the under here, man. I think Vegas will struggle to find any kind of rhythm offensively in this one, at least with any kind of consistency throughout these 40 minutes. So give me an under in this one. A couple props I'd like looking at in this one would be Nafisa Collier of the Lynx, looking at her rebounds and assists over 12.5. Now that is it's getting some juice, man. Sitting at minus 155. Now I was able to put this one in earlier at work at minus 138. We're already seeing that move up a little bit now. So definitely finding some juice on that one, but rightfully so. Look at this. She's hit at a 70% rate this season, including 7 in a row, right? 7 of her last 10, but 7 in a row. You look at the Aces as far as rebounds and assists are concerned on the defensive end, they are sitting at 2nd to last for both. Against that forward position specifically, it's not like it's getting much better. We are just 3rd to last, right? And if you look at this insight from Outlier, you can see that Fee has exceeded this mark 5 of her last 6 games at home, averaging 13.7 rebounds and assists, hitting at a 83% rate. So I like this one here, guys. I also like looking at Kayla McBride and her three-pointers over 2.5. You can get that at -120 over there at DraftKings. We talked about the aces on defense, the links on offense, vice versa, this, that, and the other, right? Sitting at 10th in terms of three-point percentage on defense. The Lynx obviously sitting at first in that regard. Looking at it here on Outlier, now we can see Kayla McBride here in 2025 hitting at a 71% rate on the year. As far as this number is concerned, 5 out of 7. Now we can see that she did not hit any threes, right, against the Sparks her last time out. But let's scroll on down here. It's not for a lack of attempts, right? She still put up 7. She just did not make any. I don't expect that back to back from Kayla McBride, who has just been on a roll this season from beyond the arc. She's known as Kayla McBuckets. That's the nickname, right? And it's the nickname for a reason, man. She lights it up. She starts lighting it up. Shooting 44% this season from deep. So I like our chances here. And we can scroll on up here and look at this insight from Outlier as well. She has exceeded this mark in 5 of her last 6 games at home, 83% hit rate. So Kayla McBride, and we get it for a good price too at -120 over there at DraftKings. Her three-pointers over 2.5. And next up, going to be looking at the Golden State Valkyries taking on the Dallas Wings. Wings opened up 1.5 point favorites. That is now up to 3.5. Total sitting at 163.5. 8 p.m. tip-off time for this one. Golden State going to roll into this one with a 3-game winning streak, guys, fresh off of a 6-point win over Seattle, who at the time held the lead in the Western Conference Commissioner Cup standings. The Valkyries are now 5-5 straight up. They have been good against the number this year as well, man, going 7-3 in that regard. Now, Golden State is on the road here for just this one before heading back home for a 5-game homestand. The Wings are going to bring in a 1-day rest advantage into this one, but they do so after 2 straight on the road, with 2 more on the road right after this game here. Dallas is just 4-8 against the spread this season, 1-11 straight up. They have lost 7 in a row now, with their lone win this season coming over the lowly Sun. These two, they're going to try to attack you differently, right, man? We see Dallas live in the mid range. They look for their buckets from the 2-point range mostly, while the Valkyries live behind that 3-point line. Both these teams, though, they're going to look to push the transition, push the pace. I think the thing that sets these two apart most, however, is their defenses. Golden State has been pretty decent and serviceable in that department, sitting at 6 for defensive rating and also 6 for mid-range field goals and shooting percentage allowed from the mid-range. Like I said, where Dallas likes to thrive. Now, you do have to worry about a letdown here for Golden State, right? Riding a 3-game winning streak into this one. And they have looked better at home behind that home crowd. They are a respectable 2-3 away from home, not getting killed in any means there. I, End of the day, man, I just can't get there with Dallas. Not laying 3.5 points. You're not going to catch me laying 3.5 points with the Dallas Wings team that has only won 1 game over the Connecticut Sun. I just can't get there, man. Right? I'd rather take a stab at Golden State, increasing this win streak to 4, and get them at plus money, as opposed to hoping Dallas just finds a way to get win number 2 this year. They're a mess, man. They're a mess. Paige Bueckers has been amazing, sure. As the season has gone on, she's getting better and better with each game. And we've seen flashes from everyone else. We haven't seen any kind of rhythm from this unit as a whole. No kind of consistency whatsoever. So yeah, like I said, I'd rather, if we're going to take a risk and look either way in this game, why not take that risk with the team that's on a 3-game winning streak, sitting at plus money? I'd rather do that one there, or just catch the points with them even, right? Now, one thing to always look at with the Valkyries is their first half spreads. They have covered a ton of first half spreads on the season. We actually just cashed that in their last game. And I know I think they've lost, 4 players to EuroLeague play, but still, man, end of the day, give me the Valkyries here over the Wings. They could roll out 6 players, and I'd still want Golden State over Dallas. For the total, where this line is sitting, I'd probably look slightly to an over. I think Golden State can slow this Dallas team down some production wise and make things harder on them, but I still think that both these teams will be looking to push the pace. They're going to get some points up. Obviously, this Valkyries team has been kind of up and down offensively, but this Wings team, as far as their defense is concerned, it's just been down, right? There's no ups. It's just been down all season long. So I'll keep all of that in mind here and look towards an under, like I said. Now, our last game on the slate, looking at the Seattle Storm taking on the Los Angeles Sparks. Now, this one's just a little bit wild, man, where these lines opened up to say the least, because we had the Storm at plus money as dogs here. What? Right? Sparks opened up as 1.5 point favorites. It's now the Storm that are laying the points, laying 4.5. The total sitting at 162.5. This is the late game, 10 p.m. tip-off time for this one. Now, like I said, obviously that line has since moved, and rightfully so, but man, you already know that I hopped on that Storm plus money line, right? But come on, plus money on the Storm on a money line in a bounce back spot, guys, against the Sparks. Come on, man. What is going on here? So I'm not sure what the books were thinking or if I'm missing something, but the Sparks are going to come into this one at home for this one after two straight on the road, and it's another 3-game road trip right after this. They're just 4-8 straight up. They're 5-7 to the number. They come into this one after a 101-78 beatdown at the hands of the Lynx. The Storm are in the middle of a 3-game road trip here. This being game number 2. And after winning 3 straight, they'll come into this one after a frustrating loss to the Valkyries in Golden State. So, yeah, it's a potential bounce back spot for both of these teams here. But end of the day, who are we going to trust, guys? The Sparks or the Sun? Right? Look, we've seen Seattle stand toe to toe with some of the top teams in this league already this season. They beat the Mercury twice, once in Phoenix. They beat the Lynx by 10. They played Atlanta tough as hell in the first half of that match, right? They just kind of crumbled down the stretch. And then they only lost by 5 in Minnesota, their first go around with the Lynx. So, like I said, standing toe to toe with that, the top tier of the league. The Sparks, on the other hand, have beaten the Sky, the Wings, the Valkyries in their very first game, and then the struggling Aces, who lost their best player midway through the third quarter. So, not too impressive in my opinion. They've lost to Minnesota twice, Phoenix twice. Hell, even that Valkyries team that they beat in the opener, like we just said, man, they've lost to them twice since. So, I haven't been impressed with this LA team this year, man. They've definitely underachieved to open up this year, been underwhelming by a long shot, man. And there's so much talent over there, guys. Rakia Jackson, Azure Stevens, Derek Hamby, the addition of Plum. Man, I think we all expected a little bit more from this squad. A lot of people had them in the playoffs this season as well, and I'm not sure that we're going to see that, man. It's still early, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing, man. On top of the inconsistent play, the underwhelming play, Seattle's going to come into this one with a clean bill of health. The Sparks, they're still without Ray Burrell and Cam Brink. Now, Julie Alleman is now away for EuroLeague play. And we also have starting guard Odyssey Sims listed as a game time decision, listed under personal reasons, which seems to always mean that they're not going to play, right? I can't see a time, I can't think of a time that I've seen a player listed as a game time decision for personal reasons and then they end up playing, right? I can't recall a time. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that she's out for this one as well, man. The Storm sit at second for points scored off of turnovers, points and transition, and points scored from the paint. Sparks are second to last, allowing points off of turnovers while giving up the ball the 5th most times per game. LA is 5th for transition points allowed, but ranked down at 8th for points scored against them from the paint. Seattle is 3rd in the league for overall shooting percentage from the field, 2nd for three-point shooting percentage, while LA is giving up the 5th most threes per game and allowing the 5th highest shooting percentage from the field. So, like I said, man, I'm all over Seattle, guys. I can't see a way to LA here, which is why I hit that plus money play on the Seattle money line right away. If you guys are seeing something I'm not, man, throw it down there in the comments. Help the community out, guys. Looking at the total, man, we've seen the Storm go 5-6 to the over this season, while the Sparks are 7-4 and 1 to the over. Seattle is playing at the 4th slowest tempo, but we see the Sparks try to push the tempo, right, a little bit more. They're sitting at 6 for pace. 2 of Seattle's last 3 have hit over, 3 in a row for LA, as well as the last 5 head-to-head between these two. So I'm going to lean over in this game here. And a prop I like looking at in this one would be Gabby Williams. Her points and assists over 17.5. We can see down here, we can get that at minus 140 over there at DraftKings. Now, on the season, we can see she's hitting this at a 55% rate, 6 of her 11 games. But let's cut that down to her last 5. We can see that she has been on a tear, hitting at an 80% rate, just save for that last game out, right? So maybe a bounce back spot here for Gabby to get back on track to where she was right before coming into that game against Golden State. Seattle just really, really struggled, man, for the majority of that contest until the end there where they tried to make a rally. We can look at this insight here from Outlier as well. Gabby Williams has exceeded this mark in 4 of her last 5 games versus bottom 5 defenses for points allowed. That's actually having her exceed 18.5. We're actually looking at her at 17.5. So this is even better, right? She's averaging 21 points and assists per game in that time at 80% hit rate. We can scroll on over here and see the Sparks, their points and assists as far as them on the defensive end, sitting at 10th and 9th overall. So yeah, we got Gabby Williams over 17.5 points and assists, minus 140 over there at DraftKings. So that is going to wrap it up, guys. All 6 games on the slate. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today. Hope you found it helpful and useful. And if you did, Please don't forget to smash that like button down there on your way out and hit subscribe if you have not already. That's going to do it, man. Hope you guys all cash out. Hope you guys all have a great night. I'm going to see you back here tomorrow for the next one.